Welcome to the Quest Forums channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about something that has to do with the end times. And so I know for some people this might seem a little bit out there, but there's been a few things in the news that I was just kind of tying together and the way that they related to a few verses that appear in the book of Revelation. Revelations chapter 13 verses 16 through 17. And it's here that the false prophet makes everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on his right hand or on his forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark, the beast's name, or the number of its name. And so the false prophet is one end times figure who serves another, the beast here, and who is sometimes otherwise called the Antichrist, even though that word doesn't actually appear in the book of Revelation, but it's just kind of a shorthand for the idea of him. And this mark of the beast is something that people have been really curious about for the 2,000 years that we've had this passage. And no one's really sure exactly what it means. I'm here to say I don't know what it means, but there was a possibility of what it could be about that it was just kind of pointed to by a few stories that I've seen lately, where throughout church history people have kind of looked at it like allegory, as though this was so far-fetched that it could never happen. But then you have a few months ago, MasterCard holds a shareholders meeting where they're required to vote on whether they're going to continue to do business with right-wing groups, because there was a left-wing group that was able to get this onto their ballot, onto their minutes, to say that they needed to make a decision on this, and to basically say that if people aren't on the left wing, they shouldn't be able to buy and sell anything if they don't have the right viewpoint. And then you have Facebook. A little while after that, they announced their Libra project, where they're going to be making a cryptocurrency, making a digital currency that they want to be universal, so people can use it to buy things and sell things from anywhere to anywhere, to kind of simplify that. But that goes even further than a global economy. It's an attempt to make a universal economy, and having a business do it, a corporation do it, is especially scary, not because it's dangerous, but because it's kind of dumb. It's just not stable enough to even try something like that, but that's what they're doing. So you have a universal marketplace. And then along with that, it's older, but the idea of IR chipping people, which is something that has come up. There are some employers that offer this, and people sometimes talk about wanting to be able to do it to children so that they can be followed around and they can be identified wherever they are. And so, yes, you have people have to have a certain identification, a certain viewpoint in order to buy and sell. And if they don't have that, and if they don't have the right type of mark, then they can't do that. So these three stories separately, they don't make that point, but you could see how you could tie them together, and then you wind up with something like the mark of the beast. Now, I want to be very careful about what I am not saying. I am not saying that we are in the end times. I am not saying that Jesus is coming back today. He could, and I do wish that he would, but he may not for 1,000 years yet. We have absolutely no idea. I'm also not saying that Mark Zuckerberg is the Antichrist. That's not what I'm here to attempt to do. I'm just pointing out the possibilities, and pointing out the fact that, especially as Christians, that we maybe have a lack of imagination. And that we sometimes think if something is far-fetched for us now, then it's impossible. Instead of recognizing that just because we can't see it doesn't mean things aren't going to change in 20 or 30 years. Because who could have imagined any of these things 20 or 30 years ago? And yet here we have those elements that are maybe in place. So it's just about recognizing the fact, maybe, God, being all-knowing, is ahead of us on things that he knows and we don't. But even more important, whenever you bring up the end times, what it really should be about is the fact that no matter what you believe about it, what you believe about Revelation, and how literal or an allegorical interpretation you want to make, what we should all agree on as Orthodox Christians is that Jesus is coming back. And when he does, he's going to judge the living and the dead. And so maybe when we have something like this, something that maybe just possibly a little bit makes the end times slightly more real to us, then that should inspire us to do what we are supposed to do anyway. It should inspire us to go out and tell people that there are consequences for sin, that there are dangers to the self-destructive roads that we all travel down, but that there's grace available for that Christ has provided it in his crucifixion and in his resurrection. It should inspire us to evangelism and sharing the good news of what Christ has done ahead of his return. So that's really what I do want to say. And when I bring up the end times, it's always what I'm driving at. I am not making, again, not making predictions. I'm just pointing out the possibilities and what we should be doing about them. So I hope that does make sense, but I also know there probably will be some people who have some thoughts on this, and I am happy to hear them. If you want to challenge me on this or just tell me that I'm crazy, whatever, it drives up the comment count, so that's a good thing in and of itself. You can do that down below, or if you do have a question on this or something else in the Bible, go ahead and share that there as well. Thanks very much for checking out this video, and until next time, keep looking up.